Hollywood speaking for Classic Concentration, a Mark Goodson television production.
Listen to what this homeless man has to say about someone who helped him.
That little boy, I love him. He means a hell of a lot to me. A hell of a lot. Because if anybody try to hurt that boy, they gotta walk through me first. That's the truth.
He's talking about one of these three young men. Number one, what is your name, please?
My name is Trevor Farrell.
Number two.
My name is Trevor Farrell.
Number three.
My name is Trevor Farrell.
Only one of these people is the real Trevor Farrell, and is the only one sworn to tell the truth. Now let's meet our panel. Actor and raconteur Orson Bean. The Emmy Award-winning co-star of Golden Girls, Betty White. Film and television producer David Niven Jr. And temporarily unable to make her usual grand entrance, our very own Kitty Carlisle. Here's the host of To Tell the Truth, Lynn Swan.
We are back together once again. It's always a pleasure. Let's get right to the story presented by our first team of challengers, all three of whom claim to be Trevor Farrell. And here is his story. Please read along with me. I, Trevor Farrell, have served 250,000 meals to street people. It all started when I was 11. My father and I left our suburban home and drove downtown, where I gave a blanket to a man sleeping on the street. We returned every night after that, giving coffee and donuts to our homeless friends. Now we operate Trevor's Place for the homeless. Tomorrow, Thanksgiving, we will serve 500 dinners to our friends in the street. Remember, when you give someone a blanket, you give them more of the warmth for one night. You give them hope for a lifetime. Signed, Trevor Farrell. We'll find out more about this helping hand right after this.
No more.
Clean up on aisle 4.
Now, it's just shopping.
Are you ready to go shopping?
Join the shopping spree on Supermarket Sweep tonight at 10, right here on Buzzer.
Okay, panel, these three people all claim to be Trevor Farrell, who serves meals to the homeless. Now, let's start the questioning with Kitty.
Thank you. Number one, this is an extraordinary thing you do. Do you need donations of money?
Yeah, that's our full support is donations.
And where does one send, number two, where does one send money to?
They can send it to our headquarters.
Where's that?
It's in Philadelphia.
And number three, when you drove downtown that first time, how did you happen to have a blanket with you?
Well, what happened was that day I had seen a news clip of homeless people, and I asked my dad whether or not people really lived like that on the streets of Oakland. And we went down, and I brought the blanket for the homeless person.
And number one, where do you live?
Chicago. I live in Oak Park, which is a suburb of Chicago, Illinois.
And number two...
Thank you. David?
Thank you. Number one, who actually cooks these 250,000 meals? Or...
We have volunteers that cook the meals, and some people bring in food that's pre-cooked and donate it.
Number two, are you going to give us your address or where we send the money if any of the viewers would like to do so?
Yeah, I can give it.
Number three, what are you going to do next? Are you going to keep doing this, or do you have another long-term goal?
Well, as of right now, I'm just going one day at a time. Tomorrow morning, I probably will get up and help the homeless, and the next day I will, but I don't know what I'm going to be doing. I know I'll always have a special heart for the homeless.
Okay, number one, what do you do about schooling?
Time's up. Betty White.
Number one, how many volunteers work on this program?
We have over 1,700 volunteers on standby, and so many work a night.
Number three, about how many a night, in a given night?
We usually have 4 to 5 staff who operate Trevor's Place.
Number two, how do you keep your food hot?
We have little warming containers in the back of the vehicles.
Number one, are those vehicles sponsored?
They're donated, yes.
They're donated,
yes.
and I see. Thank you.
Let's move down the line to Orson Bean.
I have a friend here in L.A., Joe McDermott, who makes hundreds and hundreds of sandwiches a day and corrals the rest of us. Number 3, Trevor's Place. Now, what actually is Trevor's Place? Is it vehicles or is it a storefront? What is it?
No, Trevor's Place basically is a house or an apartment building, per se.
Yeah. Number 1, tomorrow will you be serving turkey dinner with all the fixings or what?
We sure will.
Yeah, and do you ever get any rich people that sneak in just for a free turkey?
No.
Yeah, to hell with them. Let the rich people live there. All right, number 2.
But you can donate one, Orson.
I'll pay a turkey.
Your time is up, panel. Time to vote for either number 1, number 2, or number 3. Our team of challengers will receive $500 for each incorrect vote with a guarantee of $1,000. And if our panel is completely fooled, the team will receive $3,000. So panel, if you're ready to cast your ballot, Kitty, for whom did you vote?
Well, I think they're wonderful, and you're all to be congratulated, but I voted for number 1. I thought he had the most information and was really on the ball.
On the ball. David.
Well, believe it or not, I finally have agreed with Kitty. And I'm going to agree with number 1 because he also has a sort of face that would do this sort of wonderful deed.
Okay. Betty?
My first impression was that it was number 3, except that when they were telling the story and they were still up on the steps, he made just a little facial reaction, which I thought was done to fool us. And I wasn't going to be... Besides, I was born in Oak Park, so I had to go with number 1.
Oh, number 1 has 3 votes so far. Orson.
I voted for number 3. He said one day at a time he's going to keep doing this, kind of a spiritual thing to say, and he looks like he could do a lot of people a lot of good.
Well, this panel's vote is weighted heavily on number 1. Number 1, you have 3 votes. The confidence of this panel. Number 2, you didn't give a single vote. And number 3, you have 1 vote. Well, folks, it's time to find out who the real Good Samaritan is. Will the real Trevor Farrell please stand up? Number 2. So, Trevor, we'll get right back to you. Let's find out who your imposters are. Number 1, your name, and what do you do?
My name is Jesse Harper, and I put together books for a publishing firm.
Terrific. Number 3, your name, and what do you do?
My name is Jeff Jones, and I'm a teller at Bank of America in Newbury Park.
Well, wonderful. Well, you have stumped our illustrious panel. That means you will take home $3,000. What a great group to give it to. I think there are more turkeys in the offing here. All right. Now, Trevor, you've been doing this for how long now?
Since I was 11.
Since you're 11. If you can, do you have one story that you can recant, a short one, about these deeds?
Well, there's so many stories to tell. There's one fellow that you saw in the clip, Chico, who was one of my favorite homeless people. And sadly enough, he died 3 weeks ago. So.
Oh, we're sorry to hear that. Well, I'm sure his life was made much better by your efforts and what your entire family has done. You did a terrific job. If you'd like to know more about Trevor's story, look for his book entitled Trevor's Place. All of the proceeds do go to the homeless. Thank you very much for being here and playing on To Tell the Truth. We'll be back with a man who flies the Goodyear blimp right after this. We're back with To Tell the Truth. Let's meet our next team of challengers.
Number 1, what is your name, please?
My name is Nick Nicolari.
Number 2.
My name is Nick Nicolari.
Number 3.
My name is Nick Nicolari.
And it's up to you once again, panel, to locate the real Nick Nicolari. And here is his story. Please read along with me. I, Nick Nicolari, am the chief pilot of the Goodyear blimp Columbia. I have flown the giant airship for 23 years. The first Goodyear blimp, the Pilgrim, was built in 1925. I work in a tiny gondola that hangs below a giant balloon filled with 200,000 cubic feet of helium. It takes a dozen men to lift the blimp off the ground in preparation for takeoff. It costs $1,000 an hour to keep the big ship up in the air. The blimps are used to televise 100 major sports events each year, such as golf tournaments, the Super Bowl, and the World Series. Since 1925, the 4 Goodyear blimps have traveled an incredible 26 million miles. Signed, Nick Nicolari. Orson, You get to fly first with the questions.
Bless you, lad. What a thrill to meet you, whoever you are. I would want to be the chief pilot of the Goodyear blimp if I weren't whatever the hell I am. Number 3, what about the incident recently where a remote control little toy airplane was driven into your blimp and put a hole in it and you had to make an emergency landing? Were you flying the blimp when that happened?
Yes, sir, I was.
Wow, that's a nasty story, isn't it? Did they catch the guy?
Yes, they did.
Number 1, what kind of fuel did the Hindenburg use? Another blimp, not unlike yours?
The Hindenburg had hydrogen.
And what's the difference between the helium you use and the hydrogen?
Hydrogen will burn and helium will not burn.
Yes, as they found out in the Hindenburg. Number 2, what's the most dangerous time you ever had up there? Did you ever get caught in a real downdraft or storm or anything?
We've been in a number of winds, but the kind that you'd have when you'd have a whirlwind.
Yeah. What do you have to do to get a ride in one of your blimps with you?
Well, it's usually be a customer of Goodyear people.
Yeah, well, I'll buy a tire if I can get up there.
A big customer, a very big customer. Betty.
Number 2, this story fascinated me. How big was the model airplane that went into you?
It had a wingspan of about 6 feet.
And number 1, how much damage did it do?
It tore a small hole in the right side of the airship.
Number 3, when it tore that small hole, did it hurt the integrity of the overall craft?
Yes, we started losing helium immediately.
Number 2, were you able to come in for an immediate landing?
Yes, we were on the downwind, so we were only about 1,000 feet off the ground and at the landing base.
Were you scared?
A little.
Got your attention.
Okay, David.
As a matter of interest, number 1, how long does it take to inflate?
Approximately 8 or 9 hours.
Number 2, how tiny is the tiny gondola that is described that you have to sit in?
You might compare it to the size of a car. 6 people ride in it plus the pilot.
All right. Number 3, how fast does this go?
About 36 miles an hour.
And number 1, what is the longest distance you've gone on a full tank of helium?
Approximately 500 miles.
Kitty.
And number 2, where do you fly your Goodyear blimp?
I operate out of the Carson base here in Southern California.
And number 3, where do you fly yours?
Out of the Carson base.
Number 2, could you hitch a ride?
Could you hitch a ride or me?
Could I hitch a ride?
Oh, yes.
I could.
Kitty could, yes.
And number
Are
3,
you flirting?
Well, you never know. Number 3, could you rent it for a party?
No, you would have to be a customer of Goodyear.
And number 2,
That means your time is up. And panel, it's time for you to vote for either number 1, number 2, or number 3. Orson, for whom did you vote?
The people who briefed the liars did a wonderful job because there's 2 great liars up there. I hope it's number 2. I didn't vote for number 3 because he doesn't have his uniform buttoned because it belongs to number 2.
Betty.
Well, right from the time they were on the stairs, the other 2 were very serious, but that beautiful smile on number 2, and I think anybody who spent 23 years that near a big thing of helium would be still smiling on number 2.
It holds a balloon. He doesn't suck the helium out of the balloon. Okay? David.
I think that number 1 looks like a pilot. Number 2 is dressed like a pilot, so I think they've done this specifically to try to fool us here. And number 2 looks like he's the right size to fit into that little itty-bitty section.
He's the right size to fit into the small space. Okay, I can go with that. David? Kitty?
Gosh, number 3 gave great answers, and number 1 does look like a pilot. But number 2 laughed when number 1 said it took 8 or 9 hours to fill the thing, and I don't know how long it takes, but I voted for number 2.
It's a clean sweep, folks. Recap is easy. 1 and 3, no votes. Number 2, you have them all. Well, it's time to find out who the real Goodyear guy is. Will the real Nick Nicolari please stand up?
I knew it.
Let me ask you this question, especially since I'm familiar with the Super Bowl. Used to be there was only one blimp up there and not a whole lot of things going on in the sky. What's it like now? You have the Super Bowl, there's 2 or 3 different blimps, there are small planes flying around. It's a little hectic, a little scary up there these days?
Well, from the ground, it probably looks that way, but the FAA regulates it pretty tightly. I mean, every aircraft that flies over the Super Bowl or any major sporting event has a regulated altitude that they're at. So it really isn't as bad as it appears.
So, and during most Super Bowls, you control that airspace right above the stadium?
True.
Terrific. Let's find out who your imposters are. Number 1, number 2, your name, and what do you do?
My name is Bob Fuller, and I'm a building contractor.
And he must be building a lot because he's smiling an awful lot. Number 3, your name and what do you do?
My name is Aaron Wayne, and I'm a customs broker.
A customs broker? Uh-oh. You sell the things you confiscate? Is that what you do? No. What, do you?
No, I just do the paperwork.
You just do the paperwork. Okay, listen. A clean sweep, that means your team wins $3,000. Congratulations, and thank you for being here on To Tell the Truth. We'll be right back to play one-on-one with someone from our studio audience in a moment.
Some cake and ice cream. Buzzer's Birthday Bash is back.
Now it's time to play one-on-one with someone in our studio audience. So, Burton, who do you have for us today?
Well, Lynn, today we have Tom Gainey from West Columbia, South Carolina.
Tom, welcome.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good to have you here.
Great to be here.
Here's your chance to pick up some extra spending money on what may be a little vacation for you out here to play one-on-one. I want you to meet a man who has 2 stories. His name is Arthur Benjamin. Welcome, Arthur. Now, Tom, Arthur is going to tell you 2 stories, only one of which is the truth. If you can spot that true story, you'll win that $500. So, Arthur, what's your first story?
I am a human calculator. I can multiply numbers in my head faster than most people can do it on a calculator.
Now, Tom, that may or may not be the truth, so listen to Arthur's second story.
I drive a hearse. I conduct graveline tours. We visit the graves of celebrities.
All right, panel. To help Tom win $500, you'll ask one question about each story, and we're going to start with the calculator story. But remember, panel, you cannot ask a question about calculating, you can't ask him to calculate numbers because that's a demonstration, okay? Kitty?
When did you discover you had this talent?
Well, I started doing very small problems when I was very small, and my problems grew as I did.
David?
Is it easier to multiply or divide?
Multiplication.
Betty?
What kind of math grades did you get in school?
I did very well.
Yeah.
Orson?
Does this help you to cheat at cards?
I probably shouldn't comment on that.
All right.
Now, Tom, you've heard the first story. Now, the second story, graveline tours.
What do you do for fun?
I love giving tours myself. It gives me a thrill each time I do it.
David?
What does it cost to go on this tour?
$30.
What's the most popular fun grave you visit, according to your clientele?
Everyone loves to see Marilyn Monroe.
I'll bet. Her grave, too.
Orson.
And where might one go to see Marilyn's grave?
In the Westwood Cemetery. It's a private plot.
Now, Tom, you heard the cross-examination. Is Arthur the human calculator, or does he conduct graveline tours?
Lynn, you seem to be a little more excited about talking about the graveside tour, so I would think he was the graveside tour director.
Okay. Arthur, what is your true story?
To tell the truth, I am the human calculator.
Oh. I'm sorry, Tom. You have the wrong answer, but you do get a lovely gift. And because you stumped Tom, Arthur, you'll receive $1,000. Now, Arthur is going to prove his expertise in multiplying some numbers. I've got a little calculator right here with me. And Arthur, tell us what you're going to do.
Okay, Burton, if you'd have somebody give us a pair of 2-digit numbers, please, we'll get this started.
I'd be happy to. We'll start right here. Would you stand up, please? And how about 2 2-digit numbers?
2485.
Multiply 24 times 85, Lynn. Make sure you get 2,040 or your calculator's not working.
That's it. That's
2,040.
it.
Good.
My printer didn't work as well.
Now, Lynn, I noticed that took you a little bit of time to get your answer. I will give you a shortcut for multiplying even faster on the calculator. There's something called the square of a number, which is taking a number and multiplying it by itself. For instance, the square of 5 is 25. Now, to square on your calculator, Lynn, all you have to do is enter the number, then hit times, and then equals, and that'll give you the square. Okay. What I will try and do now is to square numbers in my head faster than Lynn can do on the calculator, even using the shortcut method. Burton, if you'd have somebody start us off with a 2-digit number.
1 2-digit number?
Yeah.
Okay, sir, would you stand, please? And how about a 2-digit number?
47.
47 is 2,209.
How much is that?
2,209.
Oh yeah.
Let's try a 3-digit number. Burton, how about a 3-digit number?
Okay. Would you stand, please? And a 3-digit number?
452.
452 was 204,304.
Ooh, that's good. That's good.
Let me take a chance and try a 4-digit number now.
A A 4-digit
Though I
number.
probably
How about
won't
you,
beat
sir?
the calculator on this.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. Before you hear the number, talk us through what you're doing. Talk out loud for us so we understand how your mind is thinking.
All right, I'll do that, but let me say, you might hear some words creep up into the calculation. Now, I don't want you to think this is something out of Rain Man. This is a mnemonic device, a memory aid that I use to convert numbers into words, which makes the process a little bit easier. Anyway, I'll think out loud as I do this problem. Go ahead.
A 4-digit number.
5238.
All right, 5238, that's 5 times 5, 4, 7, 6 is 27 million. Movies. Now, the original problem was, what was it,
5238.
5238, okay, movies. 238 squares, 55,200 plus 1,444 is 56,644. Add that to movies, 436,644. Good.
Amazing. Amazing. Arthur, would you do me a favor?
Sure.
Would you help me with my income tax?
I don't do any juggling.
Oh, sorry about that, then. Thank you very much for being here. We'll be right back after this. For being there, being here. Thank you for being with us here on To Tell the Truth this morning. Have a great Thanksgiving. We'll see you next time. Bye.
This is Burton Richardson speaking for To Tell the Truth, a Mark Goodson television production. One of these three men went bananas over apes. Number one, what is your name, please?
My name is Don McLeod.
Number two.
My name is Don McLeod.
Number three.
My name is Don McLeod.
Only one of these people is the real Don McLeod and is the only one sworn to tell the truth. Now let's meet our panel. Co-star of Murder, She Wrote, Ron Mason. Talk show hostess, Mother Loud. Actor and raconteur, Orson Bean. And to tell the truth's very own Kitty Carlisle. Here's the host of To Tell the Truth, Alex Trebek.
Thank you, Burton. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And good morning. Good morning, panel. My, oh, my. Don't we all just look spiffy today? So let's get to the monkeys. Our first story represented by these three gentlemen, each of whom claims to be Don McLeod. I, Don McLeod, love to make a monkey of myself. You see, that's how I make my living. Do you remember this commercial where the gorilla smashes a suitcase against the ground? That's me. How about the movie Trading Places or The Man with Two Brains? Again, I was the man inside the gorilla suit. I'm a pantomimist, and my teacher was the one and only Marcel Marceau. I've spent years studying the marvelous way that jungle animals move, especially the gorilla. But being an ape isn't always easy. While making the movie Naked Gun 2.5, I almost died from heat prostration. It's also hard to answer when people ask, what do you do for a living? Signed, Don McLeod. You notice the family resemblance? We'll find out more about this monkey business right after this. Doesn't he look great? Well, all three of these gentlemen claim to be Don McLeod, who is a professional gorilla. Kitty, we'll start the questioning with you.
Number one, do you have children?
No, I don't.
Number two, where did you study with Marceau?
In California here for 8
Was
weeks.
he here? Number three, what happened when how did you signal that you were about to die of heat prostration?
I passed out on the set and my eyes rolled back in my head and...
We once had a gorilla. Oh, I was going to tell my story.
We
Never
once had a
mind.
gorilla. To use some of my time.
No.
Orson, go ahead.
Number 2, can you do gorilla walking against the wind, or did you learn that from Marcel Marceau?
No, a small part of it from him, but I studied large animals extensively.
Number 1 now, what luggage is it that you threw around in that commercial?
That was American Tourister.
All right. Number 3, Naked Gun 2.5. I can't wait to see that. What do you do as the gorilla in that?
There's a scene where Leslie Nielsen goes through a zoo wall in a tank, and I run after him.
Very good. What's...
Oh, Mother?
Number 1, you can really make a living at this. What if you weren't in the movies?
You could, you know, go to shopping malls and do a special event, Christmas gorilla, that kind of thing.
Number 2, so what, you worked in trading places. What was it like to work with Eddie Murphy?
Fantastic. He's an excellent actor.
Did you get to work with Steve Martin? You do any scenes with him as well in The Man with 2 Brains?
Yes, I did.
Number 2.
Ron.
Number 1, do you know who Janos Prohaska was?
I think he was a man who played gorillas in the 50s, if I'm not mistaken.
Number 2, Marcel Marceau's very famous character is called what?
Bip.
Number 3, do you know who Antoine Ducreux was?
No, I sure don't.
And number 2, do you know the lady who studied primates?
I can't recall.
Number 1, they did a movie called Gorillas in the Mist. Do you know who that was about?
Diane Fossey, I think her name is.
Very good.
All right. Your time is up. You've got to vote, and you have to vote for the person you feel is the real Don McLeod, the man inside the monkey suit professionally. Is it number 1? Is it number 2? Or is it number 3? Our team of challengers, of course, receives $500 for each incorrect vote with a minimum guarantee of $1,000. And if our panel is fooled completely, then the team will receive $3,000. Kitty, for whom did you vote?
Well, I had to vote for number 1 because he knew all those questions that Ron asked. Although number 2 kind of fooled me about Marcel Marceau, but I'd still voted for number 1.
I see. Orson.
I thought it was number 2 because he had the worst gorilla suit on. I forgot the real one would let the other guys. But I had to vote for number 1. It's Etienne Ducreux, who was Marcel Marceau's. He did 2 gorillas walking against the wind.
Aha.
No other mind has ever been able to do that.
Mother?
This is really crazy. I voted for number 3 because he looks the most comfortable in that goofy suit.
Mother, that's as good a reason as I've heard on this program in the past
I mean,
few
he's
months.
just sitting there
believe
like, hey, I do gorillas. I'm cool.
Yep, that's it. Ron?
Because number 1 knew all the answers, and because number 3 looked comfortable in the suit, I went for number 2 because he knew about Bip.
All right, let's review the voting. 2 votes for number 1, 1 for number 2, 1 only for number 3. So now, ladies and gentlemen, let's find out who really goes ape professionally. Will the real Don McLeod please stand up? Number 1, all righty. Orson and Kitty, our 2 veterans, were correct on that. Don, we'll get back to you in a second. Let's find out about our imposters. Number 2, who knew about Marcel Marceau's character?
My name is Frank O'Rourke. I own the Frank Touch. I restore vintage watches.
I see. Number 3?
Hi, my name is Mark Sears, and I work for a local construction company as a plumber.
Well, you did well on our program today. There were 2 incorrect votes at $500 apiece, and that means the team will receive $1,000. Now, let's get back to you, Don.
Thank you.
There is another subject we want to touch on right now, and you and I know the tremendous power of television. And Don McLeod, ladies and gentlemen, has been searching for his birth mother for how many years now, Don?
About 10 years.
Can you give a little bit of information that perhaps will help you locate her or enable some of our viewers to write in and assist you?
Yeah, that would be wonderful. And she was born in, I was born in 1948 in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And my mother was from Grand Prairie. Her name was Ethel Walker, and she was a hairdresser. That's all I know. Don't know where she is or if she's still alive, but if anybody knows her and she's out there, I'd be forever grateful.
Thank you all for being with us today on To Tell the Truth. We'll be back with a revolutionary preschool teacher, right after this. Time now to meet our next team of challengers.
Number 1, what is your name, please?
My name is Bev Boss.
Number 2.
My name is Bev Boss.
number 3.
My name is Bev Boss.
In a few moments, we'll find out who the real Bev Boss is. Here's her story. I, Bev Boss, am a teacher with a revolutionary approach to early childhood education. In my classes, I do not teach the 3 R's. I believe children were not born to sit still and be quiet. They were born to run, to make noise, to play in the mud. Parents who accelerate the education of their children risk doing more harm than good. A child can't learn words until he has experienced those words. That's why I don't impose rules of behavior. I want my students to interrupt, to ask questions, to sing, to write their own stories, to make mud pies and blow bubbles. Left to explore and learn on their own, children learn to socialize and cooperate with each other, to develop their imagination, self-esteem, and confidence in their own abilities. Learning becomes fun, as described in my latest book, Together, We're Better. Signed, Bev Boss. We'll start the questioning with a father of 6, Ron Masak.
Oh, am I angry? I can't wait till Orson gets this because he had his own school. Number 1, what about the discipline problem?
Discipline comes from the word disciple. Children learn by example. We give good examples.
Number 2, if you just let them run haphazard around the classroom, when do they have time to learn each other's names, for example?
Well, I don't think kids just run haphazard. Children always have a direction of their own, and it's kids don't learn anything through their bottoms.
Number 3, if you don't teach the 3 R's, how do they write what they learn?
Well, they keep a journal, which they tell us what to write in. We read back, they look at what we've written, and they have to go at their own level. I think people are pushing children too hard nowadays.
Number 2, when they're...
Oh, good questions once again. Ron. Mother?
Number 3, are you concerned with the fact that these kids are telling you? It seems to me that they're telling you what to do as opposed to you telling them what to do.
We feel that experience is not just the best trainer, it's the only trainer of children.
Number 2, but these are, how old are these children?
2 years, 9 months to 5 and 6.
Number 2, these are very small children who need a great deal of direction. Are you concerned that later on in life they might not think, look, I can just go out here and just disrupt and interrupt anybody and everything because I'm being inquisitive?
No, I think kids fail because they don't develop a self. That's how they fail.
Number 1, then to back up what number 2 just said, do you feel that it's important to teach these children self-esteem in the class?
I think self-esteem is about the number 1 thing that we can teach any children in class or out of class.
Number 2, how...
Orson, who had his own school.
Indeed I did. Now, number 3, what is Summerhill?
Summerhill was an experimental school for children.
Number 1, do the older kids sometimes teach the younger kids?
Yes, we don't separate by age.
Yeah. Number 2, do the kids wear white gloves and stand up when the teacher comes in the room?
Sure.
Sure?
Yeah, sure.
Kitty?
Well, I don't understand. Number 2, how can you expect a child to experience the words you're trying to teach him? Children have to learn words they can't experience.
Some words, yeah, but young children, the way they learn is kinesthetically by attaching words to experiences. There are some words they would learn without that, but generally
well, number 1, George Bernard Shaw said drilling is what's needed. You don't teach them anything they have to do.
Definitely not.
Nothing.
No, strictly socialization and learning by doing, hands-on, concrete.
Number 3, we used to have to learn poems to recite at night to our parents. It was sort of charming. You don't do that.
If they want to learn a poem, we have them, encourage them to make up their own poems.
Oh, that's
Be creative.
nice.
Oh, if only the Jesuits had heard of this school years and years ago when I needed them. All right, panel, time for you to cast your ballots for the woman you feel is the revolutionary teacher. Is it number 1? Is it number 2? Or is it number 3? Ron, for whom did you vote?
Well, this staff, I can say this now because it's last. This is the best trained staff in the world because 2 of those people are lying to me. And I think all 3 of them are teachers. But based on the fact that she knew Summerhill, I went with number 3.
Well, I agree with you. All 3 of our challengers were very, very convincing. Yes. Mother?
You know, looking at these 3 women, I just cannot believe, even if they taught school, that number 1 and number 2 would let a bunch of little bitty crumb snatchers run around their classroom. I think it's number 3 who's letting those kids run wild and have fun and be creative.
Yeah, those crumb snatchers are
I mean,
bad news.
You know, little kids.
Right. Orson.
The Rugrats in my school used to learn. They learned poems. Mary had a little lamb. The doctor fainted. I voted for number one.
Kitty, for whom did you vote?
Well, I know that Orson School was based on the Summerhill system, and number 3 knew about it, and I believe that she's the one that but the other two look exactly like teachers.
All righty, let's review the votes. 1 vote for number 1, no votes for number 2, and I thought number 2 was very convincing in some of her responses, and 3 votes for number 3. So let's find out who the real champion of childhood shenanigans is. Will the real Bev Boss please stand up? It is number 2, and we stumped the panel.
I knew it. It was a dress.
Bev, we'll get back to you in a moment. Let's find out about our imposters, who were very good today. Number 1.
My name is Ardell Wazorek. I'm an oil painter and a grandmother.
Okay.
Thanks, Orson.
Some experience with children. Number 3, tell us about yourself.
My name is Sonara O'Donnell, and I train people in how to get new jobs.
Well, our staff trained you extremely well because the 3 of you managed to stump the panel, and that means that as a team you will receive $3,000. Now, Bev, is your method gaining in popularity in America now?
Well,
or
I've
is it
given
diminishing?
over 4,000 workshops. I sure hope so.
Yeah. Can you give us an example of
I
the
know that
kind
I'm
of-
right. Yeah, sure I
kind of
can.
thing you do?
See, this bag's been full of water for about 4 hours. If you stick a pencil, let me get one that has a sharper point on it, all the way through, it doesn't leak. How many pencils can you stick in? I had a kid the other day who did 18 pencils in a bag, and it never leaked water.
A future serial killer.
This, this is what kids need to do, and it magnifies it. It's such
Well,
a
it's
wonderful.
fascinating,
I know.
and because I've got the young one, I'll be talking to you
Yes,
after the
you better.
program about what I can do for him. But thank you all for being with us today on To Tell the Truth. You guys were terrific. We'll be back to play one-on-one right after this. Time to play one-on-one, and Burton, who do you have for us today?
Alex, today we have from Sepulveda, California, Sarah McMullen.
Sarah McMullen. Lucky Sarah was selected. Sarah, you have a chance to win $500 in cash. Good luck to you. Let me introduce a gentleman who has 2 marvelous stories to tell. Folks, please welcome Mr. X. Sarah, Mr. X is going to tell us 2 stories, one of which happens to be the truth. You spot that true story and you'll win $500. Mr. X, what's your first story, please?
I am the man behind the scenes. I am the director of To Tell the Truth.
May or may not be the truth, however. So let's go to story number 2. Mr. X?
Frank Sinatra sings my song. I wrote New York, New York.
All right, Sarah, 1 question from each of our panelists on each subject. First of all, that he is the man behind the scenes, the director of this show. Kitty.
Mr. X, how long have I been on To Tell the Truth?
I'd rather not say.
Orson.
Well, first of all, I'd like to send my regards to the lovely Mrs. X. And I'd like to say, have you ever directed a real show?
I did Ukulele Ike.
Mother?
Number 2, are you related to Mr. Goodson?
Oh.
I mean, you,
I'm not,
Mr.
but
X.
I wish I were.
Ron.
Mr. X, without embarrassing me, who was your favorite panelist?
I can't answer that. I love all my panelists.
Good. A good diplomatic response. Now let's get to story number 2, that this gentleman, Mr. X, wrote New York, New York. Great song.
Mr. X, what other songs have you written?
I have written mostly jingles for commercials, but I have written several shows. I've written several shows, too.
Nice. Orson?
Mr. X, who had the biggest single hit record of I know many singers recorded, but who was your favorite recording artist that did it? I'll put it that way.
Well, it's certainly between Liza and Frank. I can't really pick between the two of them. They both are platinum records.
All right, Mother?
Mr. X, did you pick Frank Sinatra to sing it, or did he like the song and decided to sing it?
Frank liked the song. He saw the movie it was in, he loved it, and he decided to do it.
Ron?
What was the name of the movie with Liza where she introduced the song?
New York, New York.
Thank you, Mr.
Catchy
X.
title.
All right,
Catchy
Sari, you've heard the cross-examination. Is Mr. X the director of this show, or did he write that hit song, New York, New York?
Well, I like the song, and I like this guy, so I'm going to say New York, New York.
All right, Mr. X, what is your true story?
To tell the truth, my name is Paul Alter, and I am the director of To Tell the Truth.
And that's bad news for Sarah. Sorry, Sarah. We've got a lovely gift for you. And wait a minute. Usually I say we want to thank Paul Alter for playing one-on-one, and you get $1,000, but I don't think that's in your contract. We'll resolve it during this commercial break, and we'll come back with Paul and the rest of the gang after this.
No matter who's dealing the cards, the Sharks are in it to win it.
I gotta go all the way! Higher!
Card Sharks, weekdays at 4:30 on Buzzer.
This is our last show on To Tell the Truth, and we wanted to go out in style with a touch of class and with, as Cyrano de Bergerac would say, our panache intact. And rules are rules. We have a rule that says if you stump the person in the audience in the one-on-one segment, you get $1,000. Paul Alter gets $1,000, but he's going to give $500 to Sarah, who was playing one-on-one, and the other $500 goes to his favorite charity, the Music Center here in Los Angeles. So thank you, Paul. I want to say it was a great pleasure working with you as director on this program. I'm indebted to the man on my left, Mark Goodson. Every show he produces is class in itself. Thank you for having me here. And Kitty and Orson and Ron and Mother Love. And thank all of you. To Tell the Truth started in the mid-50s, ladies and gentlemen. It has had 4 reincarnations. I have a feeling it may be back in the near future. If it is, I hope I'm associated with it. So long, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us today.
This has been Burton Richardson speaking for To Tell the Truth, a Mark Goodson television production.